Multilateralism today, the challenges and opportunities, who is a really nice continuation of the previous conversation. And we have a superb keynote speaker, believe me. We have with us the one and only Miguel Ángel Moratinos, Undersecretary General and High Representative of the UN Alliance of Civilizations. So allow me to give you the floor. Excellency, you would like to speak from here or from the podium? From here. Okay, you have the floor, and then we will go full-fledged into our panel. You have the floor.
So thank you, Maria Fernanda. Thank you. It's an honor again to be here with all of you. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the opening session that I was supposed to deliver my speech, much more institutionalized, much more formal. But it's not going to be a keynote speaker. I think we follow President Michel that we have this interactive conversation. So I have my text. I will give to the chair my text, a bit boring. And so I will try to send to you very quick messages that what are my opinion about this, where we stay about today in multilateralism. What is multilateralism today? It's in good health, it's friendly, it's respected, it's desired. I think we should ask, of course, the member states, governments, nations, but also we should ask the public opinion. What do you think about multilateralism? Formally, and you listen to all the speeches yesterday and today and tomorrow, you will say, all member states will say, we support multilateral framework. But at the same time, there is a kind of question mark about how multilateralism is going to be, implemented, is going to be, legitimate, and is going to be efficient. And if you ask the public opinion, well, of course, people are very much mobilized, and people are supporting the UN, and people are frustrated with the UN because they are waiting for the UN to solve problems, and they saw, no, there is no peace in the world, there are conflict. Where is UN? How is going to act? How is engaging? How we create a ceasefire? And so it's a kind of frustration. At the same time, they say, well, we need the UN. We need a multilateral framework. So this contradictory situation we should take into account. And what is happening? We were adapted and we were accustomed to live from 1945 to recent times in a bipolar, unipolar world that used, by chance or by good spirit, good vision, a multilateral system. So one country or the P5 used to really, rule with a very good instrument that is called UN multilateral system. But today we are not in a bipolar world. We are not in unipolar world. We are in a multipolar world. So what is missing today? Is missing that we have to include the multipolar world in the multilateral framework. And that is missing. Because now we have certain important actors, new actors that want to have the world. Not only, of course, Russia, China, and others, but also, the Global South, Africa, Latin America. So we have to adapt and to reform in order that we will recognize that our multipolar actors in civil society, private sector, etc. So that should be our first concern. In this sense, what should we do? What is going to be the reform? I think Secretary General has been trying in the second mandate to really start this process of adapting the multilateral framework to the reality of today. And he proposed first the common agenda, then he proposed the Pact of the Future. Now we have the UN 80. Okay, there have been good attempts, but not enough attempt, because as I said, they have a partial proposal that have not solved, the tremendous complexity and challenges that we are confronting today. So I think it's going to be the role and the main objective of the next Lady Secretary General. We are only 1 year ahead. And so we have a common agenda, you have the Pact of Future, you have UN 20, you have to make a compact of what has been good and how you represent to the member state, to the whole society, in order that we have a new support and credibility and legitimacy to the UN. 3 areas, very, very briefly. Of course, the first one is peace and security. That is what really the people felt and the people sense, that the UN is, they have not really get to what we were expecting from that. What happened? We have the Security Council, whole story, we have to be there. I hope that we will enter in a new phase of reform of Security Council. We have to democratize the UN. That means that democratization is full-fledged. It's not just a word. It's not just the one vote, one country. But we have to reinforce the General Assembly in order that the General Assembly can have much more weight for the decision of the different aspects of the international governance. And I think we should give to the Secretary General, the next Women's Secretary General, a much stronger responsibility to do the good offices. I mean, it's not acceptable that one country don't allow a Secretary General to go to intervene to make peace or to try to say, no, it should be added. There has been a commitment that whoever is Secretary General, if there is a war, they have to engage with the parties. And not just only one country or 2 countries. No, Secretary General has a responsibility, should be part of his task, should be recognized, adopted, endorsed by the whole international community. Secondly, of course, all the sustainable development, I will not stop that because I think the track is well done. And we have a very successful response. When people said multilateralism is dead, we just a few months ago in Sevilla, we have a fantastic, successful gathering with more than 60 heads of state, 80 heads of state. There have been 160 countries, and they give a full commitment. And there was a compromise of Sevilla. It was approved by consensus. There was only one country missing, United States, okay? Nobody opposed to join the consensus. But we have to start to understand. The majority, the totality of the international community was in favor of multilateralism in this issue. So we are on the right track. And finally, the human, let's say, component. And that is very important for what I represent as High Representative for Alliance of Civilization. Of course, we are all talking about artificial intelligence, all the technology, but where is the human? Where is the human intelligence? Where is the human intelligence that creates the artificial intelligence? It was not the robot who created artificial intelligence, it was the human. So the human, where we are going to be placed? And then Prime Minister Gordon said, well, the values, of course the values. Where is the algorithm? What are the values in the algorithm? Who controls the algorithm? There is transparency about who decided which algorithm, with identity, with culture, with sense, with awareness of ourselves as human beings. I think that should be one of the main concerns we have to take into account in the future. So, my dear friend, and I conclude with that, let's use this fantastic forum of Nizami Ganjavi with these fantastic people with tremendous contribution, and I think it's starting to shape what is going to be the compact for the new UN once the new Secretary General, Lady Secretary General, will take over in 1 year ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. Thank you to Miguel Ángel Moratinos. And I think the challenge is how to build and put content into this new compact for the UN of the future. So thank you for your contribution. We have a slight change in the program. We have the privilege to receive the Prime Minister of the Republic of Bulgaria. Welcome. I would immediately turn over to Rosen Plevniev, member of the Nizam Ganjavi International Center, and he will lead this part of the conversation. We will come back to our panel as planned. Excellency, you have the floor.
Maria,
Rosen,
just a second.
you are
yes,
in my back.
thank you.
Okay, Rosen, over to you.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, please just allow me a couple of words, I believe very important, speaking about just a simple political situation in my country before giving the floor to our Prime Minister. In the last 4 years, we debated a lot about what's going on in the world. And in my country, we saw a lot of populism, a lot of nationalism, I would say wrong nationalism, a lot of divisions. There were political confrontation, 6 elections, 7 governments in 4-year times. It was a kind of a global record. And then this Prime Minister, which is going to speak in front of you, came as somebody who knows how to heal the wounds of a democratic society, as somebody who knows how to bring people together, somebody who created an impossible coalition, and somebody who managed to bring back the country on track with a vision, with a new plan, and also in a very short period of time bringing results. I'm very proud to give the floor to our Prime Minister, who in a couple of months managed to push the country into the Eurozone. We're just 100 days away of getting into the zone, created a new long-term plan, created a coalition that is cherishing the differences and managing in a very diverse parliament to bring results. He's pushing forward. That's why I'm very proud to present to you a hope that even in times of division and a very, very big political confrontation, you can have leaders that can bring us together and that can bring results for people. Prime Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, in this hall there is so much wisdom, so much experience that I feel myself like a political teenager. Thank you, my dear President Plevneliev, for your kind words. In this hall there are at least 2 presidents I've been voted in my life, President Plevneliev and President Stoyanov. So I'm really deeply emotional, shaken. Allow me to share some thoughts about the actual role of Bulgaria in Southeast Europe as an engine for peace and economic development in Southeastern Europe. In a region historically marked by division and volatility, Bulgaria stands as a testament to transformation. From the crossroads of empires to the heart of European diplomacy, our nation embraced its strategic position, not with isolation, but with outreach, not with nostalgia, but with vision. Today, I invite you to explore how Bulgaria is shaping the future of Southeast Europe across 3 key dimensions: diplomacy and stability, infrastructure and economic connectivity, geopolitical leadership. Peace is not merely an absence of conflict. It is the presence of cooperation, trust, and shared purpose. Bulgaria has made this philosophy central to its foreign policy. We are proud to have initiated the Southeast European cooperation process, a platform that fosters dialogue among Balkan nations. Our commitment to the European integration of the Western Balkans is unwavering. We understand that the path to peace is paved with institutions, reforms, and shared values. Bulgaria has consistently advocated for the EU accession of our neighbors, not as a favor, but as a necessity for regional cohesion. This is a process. To be truly successful, the candidate countries have to implement the necessary reforms in a sustainable and irreversible way. It is therefore crucial to maintain the validity of own merit approach. The Sofia Declaration 2018, hosted during our EU presidency, has a landmark moment. It reaffirmed the EU's commitment to the Western Balkans and emphasized connectivity, youth engagement, and the rule of law. These are not abstract ideals. They are the cornerstone of the peaceful future. Beyond politics, Bulgaria invests in cultural diplomacy. We share deep historical, linguistic, and religious ties with many of our neighbors. Through education exchanges, joint cultural festivals, historical healing, we build bridges where others might build walls. Peace alone is not enough. It must be matched by prosperity. Bulgaria is leveraging its geopolitical position to become a logistical and economic hub for Southeast Europe. Together with our partners and neighbors, we're actively working to expand and complete the road and railway infrastructure, energy and digital connectivity, in order to expand the economic, transport and energy opportunities of the entire region. Connectivity will increase the resilience of the region to challenges in the context of Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. We are a vital link in several pan-European transport corridors. These corridors are not just roads and railways. They are the arteries of commerce, culture, and cooperation. I want especially to mention the Pan-European Corridor 8, connecting the Adriatic to Black Sea. Its timely construction is not only of great importance for the prosperity of the region, but also is a key logistic route along NATO's southern flank. The construction of the vertical axis connecting Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria, and Romania is also a major priority for our country, and we are working together in order to accelerate the relevant projects in this regard. In the energy sector, Bulgaria is leading the charge toward the diversification and sustainability. The completion of the Greece-Bulgarian interconnector has reduced our dependence of Russian gas and strengthened regional energy security. The vertical gas corridor diversifies natural gas supplies to almost all countries in the Southeast European region. As a Black Sea nation, Bulgaria plays a strategic role in maritime trade and environmental stewardship. Our ports in Varna and Burgas are gateways to global markets, and our leadership in the Black Sea economic cooperation promotes sustainable development and regional resilience. In today's world, geography is destiny, but strategy is choice. Bulgaria has chosen to be a bridge, not a barrier. As a member of both European Union and NATO, Bulgaria serves as a conduit between Western institutions and Southeast Europe. We host multinational NATO forces, participate in joint exercises, and contribute to regional defense initiatives. The war in Ukraine has tested our resolve. Bulgaria has responded with clarity, supporting sanctions, providing humanitarian aid, and deepening ties with Ukraine and Moldova. We understand that security is collective and that the peace in Eastern Europe is inseparable from peace in the Balkans. We also play a critical role in migration and border management. Our recent partial accession to the Schengen area is a recognition of our effort and step toward deeper integration. Bulgaria is not merely reacting to the tides of history, we are steering them. Through diplomacy, infrastructure, and strategic leadership, we are building a Southeast Europe that is peaceful, prosperous, and united. Let us continue to invest in each other, not just in trade and treaties, but in trust. Let us build a region where borders are not barriers and where cooperation is not a choice, but a commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Here is a special invitation from NGIC board to you to participate on the next Global Baku Forum. And Maria, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Prime Minister, for being with us and for your call to peace. I think peace is exactly what the world needs today, and the commitment of your country to peace. We will pick up where we left it. We will now go forward with a panel about the state of multilateralism. I have received a message from one of the panelists saying that she needs to leave, and I want to just make sure that Alexandra is still with us. Oh, you are with us. Okay, I saw you now. So perhaps I will start by giving you the floor first. And I have a proposal to make because our time has dramatically shortened. And basically, what I propose to you is to give you the floor for 3 or 4 minutes, and then a closing 1-minute statement to each one of the panelists. We have had a few changes. This is the first day of this high-level meeting, and we had to adjust to the very difficult agendas of the leaders. And I think that perhaps we can just also adjust and be flexible as the panel continues. And of course, I had opening remarks for this panel, and I will refrain from sharing my opening remarks. I would just jump directly into giving the floor to our panelists. As mentioned, 3 minutes, and then one closing statement. I will start with Alexandra Matviichuk. She's the head of the Center for Civil Liberties and Nobel Peace Prize recipient in 2002. Alexandra, you have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you very much for providing me a floor. I'm a human rights lawyer, and I would like to share my perspective on the topic of this panel. First, I don't know how historians in future will call this historical time, but the world order, which is based on UN Charter and international law, is collapsing before our eyes. This system was created to prevent wars and mass violence last century, but like my smartphone, it has an expiration date. It needs to be reformed. Without reform, it's just stalling and reproducing ritualistic movements. The human life is short. Probably till the end of my life, I will see this paralyzed Security Council, but the battle for the new world order has already begun. Second, I live in Kiev, and my native city, like thousands of other Ukrainian cities, are constantly being shelled, not just by Russian rockets, but also by Iranian drones. North Korea sent to Russia more than 1 million artillery shells and recently sent their troops to Russia. All these regimes, they have something in common. All these regimes, they have the same idea of what a human being is. They deprive people in their rights and freedom. Democracies, even not being ideal, they see human rights to be highest value, and there is no way to negotiate it. We must rethink our approach to the global security, because global security starts from the human security. And if we want to have new world order based on human security and freedom, we must to act. And last, I want to share what we can rely on. Being a human rights lawyer who find myself in a situation when the law doesn't work and when the whole UN system can't stop Russian atrocities, I know that we still can rely on human. I interviewed once Ukrainian professor on philosophy and science, Igor Kozlovsky, who spent 700 days in Russian captivity. Before this, I interviewed hundreds of people. They told me how they were beaten, raped, smashed into wooden boxes, their fingers were cut, their nails were torn away, their nails were drilled, they were electrically shocked through their genitalia. One woman told me how her eye was dragged out with a spoon. So it was little that could surprise me. But this Ukrainian professor mentioned a detail which was insignificant to evidence base, but it strikes me. He told me how he was kept in solitary confinement in a tiny cell with no window, no light, no heating. He told me that he was tortured so severely that he had to learn how to walk again. The sewage flows on the dirty floor, and through the opening of the sewage, rats were crawling down. And this well-known in my country professor told me how he gave lectures on philosophy to these rats just to hear a sound of human voice. And he said that all his experience is not the reason for him to treat himself and to experience himself as a victim, because the basis of our existence is dignity, not victimhood. And dignity is an action. Dignity provides us an ability to act even in unbearable conditions. We are not hostages of the circumstances. We are participants of this historical process. So let's act to have a world with a freedom, without fear of violence, where our children will have a long-term perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Alexandra, for sharing your lived experience, for your call to global security being human security and human dignity, and your call to action. Thank you indeed very, very much. Let me now turn to you, Hangobo. He is a former Undersecretary General of the UN, a former ambassador and representative of the Chinese government on European affairs, ambassador to Germany as well. Welcome. You also have the floor for 3 minutes. And I basically, my question to you would be that you have seen multilateralism both from the UN perspective, but also from a national perspective representing your country. So how do you think we can navigate this great power competition while still advancing collective action? How to navigate the current turbulent times? I think that this is the challenge we all face today. So you have the floor, Excellency, for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, moderator. 3 minutes. I'm not sure that will do justice to my preparation.
Please take a few more if you need, Excellency, please.
Now, the subject we are dealing with is the challenges and opportunities. First, I would like to list the challenges as I see it. Number one, the authority is being challenged seriously. You know, a country I don't name it, is pursuing the policy of my country first. And as far as the international organizations, institutions are concerned, if these organizations fit their purpose, they will do it. If not, they will throw it into the rubbish bin. So let me have a look. The United Nations Security Council, their resolutions should have been passed, but has been blocked time and again to paralyze the Security Council. So all these actions, I just named few, have seriously hampered the global governance and multilateral cooperation. That's authority. Second, ideological interference. Some countries are being driven by ideological beliefs, are organizing small, exclusive groups for bloc confrontation, forcing other countries to take sides. And they also use the trade, science, technology as ideological weapons for their geopolitical games and their purposes. They even try to isolate other countries or decoupling the production and supply chains. So all these actions taken really interfere with the normal cooperation between countries. As a result, today's world is even more unstable and uncertain. Third is the government's structure seriously unbalanced. I think some of the previous panelists mentioned the growing global south. The global south is becoming a driving force for the world economic growth. It is only right for them to demand louder voice and decision-making power in international affairs. If we as international community ignore their request, or some countries even to block them, then that we are only in a position to weaken our multilateralism and to worsen the world governance. The last but not least, poor efficiency. Under the 6 UN Charter institutions, there are more than 100 programs, funds, committees, or specialized agencies. And the fragmented structure, lack of efficient coordination, overlapping mandates, and unclear rights and responsibilities, and the fierce competition for resources. Just mention a few. These are really problems existing. Some countries even use the international organizations as a place for major power competition, leaving many important issues unsolved for a long time. Now, do we have any opportunities? Do we stand any chances for the future? I said in the opening, my president has put forward on the table the Global Governance Initiative. I just spend a little bit more time to explain. Number one, the sovereign equality. We should maintain all countries, regardless of their size, strength, and wealth, are equal participants, equal decision makers, and equal beneficiaries in global governance. And second, we should abide by the international rule of law. The purposes and the principles of the United Nations Charter and other universally recognized basic norms of international relations must be observed comprehensively, fully, and in their entirety. International law and rules should be applied equally to each and every country and uniformly. There should be no double standards. I think Mr. Michel was mentioning this. And the house rules of a few countries must not be imposed upon others. Third, we should practice multilateralism. We should uphold the vision of a global governance featuring extensive consultation and joint contribution for shared benefit, strengthen solidarity and coordination, and oppose unilateralism. We should firmly safeguard the status and authority of the United Nations and ensure its irreplaceable key role in global governance. The fourth, we should advocate people-centered approach. We should reform and improve the global governance to ensure that the people of every country are the actors in and the beneficiaries of a global governance, so as to better tackle the common challenges and better narrow the North and South gap and better safeguard the common interests of all our countries. Last but not least, we should focus on taking real actions. Sometimes we find there are a lot of lip service paid, but not real actions taken. We should adopt a systematic and holistic approach, coordinate global actions, fully mobilize various resources, and strive for more visible outcome. We should enhance practical cooperation to prevent the governance system from lagging behind or being fragmented. I also understand a strong interest in China on the floor. I just want to say a few words about Chinese foreign policy. Number one, we will continue as the second largest economy to adhere to the path of a peaceful development. My president, Mr. Xi Jinping, put it well. He said, the Chinese nation have no genes for invading others or seeking world hegemony in their blood. And second, we should continue to adhere to the development model of a win-win cooperation. The Belt and Road Initiative is a sounding example. It has a participation of 150 countries and international organizations with tangible results. Last but not least, we should continue to safeguard the international system with multilateralism at its core. The real effective solution to the complex issues of the world is to practice the genuine multilateralism. Ladies and gentlemen, the road ahead is bumpy and uncharted. We don't know how difficult it will be. So what I can say is we cannot go back to the old so-called wonderful days. However, if we, China, and other countries could work together, certainly we will have a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hongbo, and I really like your end reflection calling for genuine multilateralism, for practical cooperation, and for mentioning very concrete initiatives from China, the Global Governance Initiative, the Belt and the Road Initiative, and the need to have multilateralism be based on international law and the compliance of international law and a value-based multilateral order. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let me now call on Mr. Dimitris Avramopoulos. He is the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece, former Minister of Defense, Foreign Affairs, and former European Commissioner. We are delighted to have you. And my question to you, you are among perhaps the top-level experts on issues of migration, which has become one of the most complex issues that we address in the multilateral space. So my question to you would be regarding migration and security as extremely pressing issues that are dividing, unfortunately, our countries. So how can multilateral frameworks turn these from sources of tension into areas of cooperation, using, of course, your great experience in the European Union? You have the floor.
Thank you, Mariam. Now, you bring me back to the difficult days of 2015. At that time, I was the European Commissioner to tackle these very sensitive issues, which was not an easy thing, I can tell you, because when we had the very first uncontrolled migratory flows and the very first terrorist attacks, talking about security, Europe was taken by surprise, didn't have any idea how to cope with that, didn't have the experience before, so we started building from scratch the European agenda on migration and security. And now I come to your question. It is true to say that many efforts have taken place at that time. I remember I had suggested, I had proposed to the former Secretary General of the United Nations to convene an extraordinary General Assembly of the United Nations to tackle this issue. Well, I can tell you that they all came there with their speeches, very well drafted, and often resembled a very ritual for the moment, carefully scripted texts. But what was the outcome of that? Nothing. Sorry to say that, but the international community was not prepared for that. It coincided with the return of nationalism in our life. Populism was the catalyst for nationalism to come back. And most of the leaders preferred to be fortified behind their national borders, inwards looking, instead of finding a global solution. It never happened. And this phenomenon, unfortunately, will stay for many, many years. The moment we are here, we all know from UNHCR that more than 450 million people around the world are on the move. Is the global community ready and well prepared to address it? No. And this brings me now to Europe. It was said before by the prime ministers, the former prime ministers. Yes, we are very much concerned. The rise of populism and nationalism is threatening the foundation of the European Union. The European Union was created after the Second World War as a pattern of how nations that were in conflict can coexist, live together, cooperate, and create a larger space of growth, of peace and stability. It happened. We belong to a generation that has never lived a war, and we take it for granted. But it is not the case. Look what's happening around the world right now. We have war in Central Europe. You see what's happening in Gaza and elsewhere in the world. So it is right now the moment that multilateralism has to come back. But it will be very, very difficult. Just some kilometers from here, we have the United Nations. We all have attended General Assemblies of the United Nations. And what's their experience? They all go there, very well prepared, to recite the poem as it has been dictated by their governments, but at the end, what is happening? Mr. Guterres is trying a lot. I had met him in the beginning of his tenure, and he said that my dream is to revive this international organization. Look where we stand today. So yes, we are crossing difficult moments, and I believe that this gathering here is more important than the General Assembly of the United Nations, because they don't talk like this over there. Here, we touch the heart of the problem. And we must be grateful to Nizami institution for having brought us here to exchange our experiences, our views, and our visions. So I conclude by telling you that my experience was good for me, but bad for the world, because all these problems still exist. And I'm afraid with what is happening in Gaza right now, we might see the revival of terrorism. It can happen, because you know how people work when they are under pressure. With Prime Minister Charles Michel, we had experienced that together when I was commissioner, and we had exchanged some thoughts at that time. And I paid attention to his remarks today. They are not just remarks to contribute in this debate. They are voices that come from the future. So the conclusions of this meeting should be focusing on that. How can we bring back the values and the principles upon which the world was built after the Second War back? And this is up to the leaders. So we need leaders who are visionary, who are bold, who do not pay attention to the so-called political cost. They decide and they move ahead. This is what the citizens of the world demand from us right now. I took note of your remarks before. Yes, there is only one way forward, global cooperation. And leaders of today will be judged tomorrow by history if they are in a position to create a better world. The new generations cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Avramopoulos, for bringing your first-hand experience as the special, the head of migration for the European Union. We heard you, more multilateral cooperation, greater leadership, and to bring back the values of the Second World War. Of course, this is not an easy endeavor. Let me now bring to our discussion His Excellency Mr. Binali Yildirim, former Prime Minister of Turkey, Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey as well. And the question, I think, remains the same. How do you see the state of multilateralism? But more importantly, what can be done to make it the way of doing things? International cooperation, international solidarity, making peace the central raison d'être of us coming together, and the UN being stronger and more fit for purpose. You have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me, before starting, say a few words about Nizami Ganjavi International Center. This center symbolizes wisdom, dialogue, and cooperation. Named after the great poet Nizami Ganjavi, whose works celebrated diversity and human values. This center has become a living bridge among cultures, nations, and generations. By gathering leaders, scholars, and visionaries from all over the world, it embodies the very spirit of multilateralism in practice, promoting dialogue instead of division, building understanding across regions, and transforming differences into opportunities. Multilateralism, however, is not without its challenges. First, great power competitions. The United Nations Security Council often becomes paralyzed. In Syria, for example, humanitarian action was blocked by vetoes. In Ukraine, divisions hinder peace efforts. When 5 countries decide for the rest of the world, many ask, is this system fair? Who has given the right to P5 to veto whatever they want? Second, selective multilateralism and double standards. In 2003, the Iraqi war proceeded despite UN opposition. Today, we all face in Gaza conflict. The world witnesses bombing of cities, the killing of women and children, and the destruction of homes and hospitals. Civilians are executed in front of the eyes of humanity. Yet, many international organizations remain silent, unable or unwilling to stop this tragedy. When rules of international law are applied selectively, when some aggressors are shielded and others punished, multilateralism loses its credibility. Third, weak global crisis response. For example, COVID-19 revealed deep inequalities. Some nations had surplus vaccines while others had none. Climate negotiations repeat promises but deliver too little. These failures shows the cost of weak cooperation. Lives lost, trust eroded. But the story of multilateralism is not only about crisis, it is also about hope and opportunity. First, shared problems require shared solution. No country alone can stop climate change, regulate artificial intelligence, or manage global migration. The Paris Climate Agreement, though imperfect, remains a milestone of global unity. Last year, COP29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, is another shining example. The world gathered in Azerbaijan to discuss climate action, and the next year, NATO will be meeting in Ankara, Turkey, to decide further future plan. This shows how even regional players can host truly global conversations, giving a voice to all nations, big and small. The rise of middle powers and regional cooperations, BRICS, OTC, SCO, ASEAN, and others. The Organization of Turkic States is a strong example among them. With its Vision 2040, it aligns nations around the culture, economy, and connectivity. through projects like Middle Corridor, Zengezur Corridor. It links Asia to Europe, BTC, TANAP, TAP, and others. By investing in education and cultural exchange, it prepares a new generation for cooperation. Number 3, conflict resolution and peace building. President Ilham Aliyev's leadership in resolving the long-standing Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict is a remarkable example how regional determination can bring peace, stability, and new chapter for cooperation in Caucasus. This achievement not only secured national interest, but also opened the way for regional integration and economic development that benefit all. 4, good practices around the world. European Union shows that shared sovereignty can create prosperity and peace. African Union mediates conflicts and builds a continental free trade area. OTC demonstrates how cultural, regional, and intellectual cooperation can achieve what global institutions sometimes fail to do. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, multilateralism is at a crossroads. If dominated by mistrust and competition, it will fragment and fail. But if renewed through inclusivity, fairness, and institutions like the NGIC, it can deliver peace, prosperity, and hope. Let me leave you with this final thought. In an independent world, no nation is truly independent, but the silence in the face of injustice is not neutrality, it is complicity. The only real path forward is not competition that divides us, but cooperation that unites us. Multilateralism is not just our best option, it is our only option for a peaceful and just for future of the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, and thank you for acknowledging the role of NGIC as a bridge builder and as a platform for dialogue. Thank you for your 3 points, very well taken, on great power competition and how it harms multilateralism. The second point on selective multilateralism and double standards, and yet multilateralism continue to deliver and the good example of the outcomes of COP29 under the leadership of Azerbaijan. And the third point on the importance of conflict resolution and peacemaking and peace building, and also the example of the peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia. We all agree with you, Excellency, multilateralism is at the crossroads, and I think that in challenge there is opportunity, and that's why we're gathering today. Let me now turn to our next speaker, Serjam Kerim, President of the 62nd session of the United Nations General Assembly, a former Minister of Foreign Affairs of North Macedonia. I think that you are so well placed to share with us a reflection on the role of the General Assembly as this Parliament of Nations And how can the General Assembly reclaim a stronger role in a time when trust in global institutions is fragile? And do you believe that something can be done with the reform agenda of the UN underway? You have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you, dear Maria Fernanda. After the very inspiring remarks of President Charles Michel and the previous speakers, I realize that multilateralism faces a fundamental test. Will it disintegrate from within, or can we renew it for the realities of the 21st century? In my view, the very purpose of this gathering is to ask, what shall we do now, and what must we do differently? This work begins with challenging the means in which multilateralism is practiced. To guide our pathway forward, we use a foothold on 4 imperatives. First, renewal of institutions. Reform the United Nations to address cyber threats, artificial intelligence, and climate risks. Legitimacy must be rebuilt through fairer representation and modernized mandates within the United Nations. And that's the major task of the General Assembly once you asked me, Maria Fernanda, about it. Second, broaden participation. Means governance can no longer be the purview of a few. The Global South, youth, and civil society must have real influence and representation. Third, reimagine priorities. AI, digital rights, and climate migration must be the top and on the top of our agenda. These issues define collective security and require coordinated frameworks. Fourth, reaffirm values. Even amid structural reform, the moral compass must remain fixed on peace, dignity, and equality, the founding values of the United Nations Charter. Reform also lies beyond the conceptual redesign. It depends on certain preconditions that will allow institutions to function, principles to endure, and cooperation to succeed. For reform to succeed, there are 5 conditions. First, the continued existence of universal institutions. The UN must endure. Its collapse would create a vacuum far more dangerous than the one left by the League of Nations. In a nuclear and interconnected world, global collapse could mean planetary catastrophe. Second, comprehensive UN reform. Peacekeeping, humanitarian action, digital governance, all must be modernized. Streamlined decision-making and updated mandates are crucial to close the gap between ambition and ability. Third, all major powers must participate. Sustainable cooperation requires the support of the United States, China and Russia, and others. Global order cannot be dictated by a few, nor ignored by the rest. Fourth, maturity of the European Union. President Michel spoke about that. I want to reaffirm it as one who comes from a country who rarely wishes and has a desire to join. The European Union must evolve, becoming a true geopolitical actor. Its normative and economic influence positions it to lead on issues like democracy and climate. It can be a bridge between global regions and global powers. Fifth, empowerment of the Global South. A just order requires representation for Africa, Latin America, and Asia, permanent UN Security Council seats and meaningful decision-making roles are essential. Without them, I don't see a perspective of the United Nations. Participation without power breeds mistrust. At this moment of historic transition, multilateralism stands as the only viable path in a world where challenges flow beyond a nation's borders. Climate change, pandemics, and technological changes all demand collective response. We must not retreat into nostalgia for a system that no longer works, nor must we surrender to cynicism or fatalism. This is a time for deliberate design to redefine the future before it is shaped for us by collapse. The real choice is not between multilateralism and something else. It is between inclusive cooperation and collective failure for all of us. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Serjan Kerim. I think that what we just heard is sort of a roadmap for reform, a fully fledged roadmap for reform, and I don't even intend to summarize, but I wrote down your 4 points of rebuilding legitimacy, more representation, more participation, your call for greater voice of the Global South, youth, civil society, the need to reprioritize in the world of today, bringing to the agenda artificial intelligence, digital rights, migration, climate, and reaffirm the values of the UN Charter. So thank you very much for that, Serjan Kerim. And I have both good and bad news for you. The bad news is that we don't have time for a second round with our distinguished speakers. The good news is that we have a speaker. She's the last speaker, and she will have the last words of this panel before we break for lunch. I'm inviting and giving the floor to a great friend, Ana Palacio, a former foreign minister of Spain. But I have to say, Ana, that you have been both a national leader in your own right, but also a sustained international voice. So my question to you, also as an expert on international law, is how to address and solve this paradox between sovereignty and national interest as opposed or connected to the need that we heard over and over again for more multilateralism, more international cooperation, more solidarity, more working together and collective action. How is that we solve the paradox? Because this is going to very much define how we undertake the reform process that we are just experiencing now, the UN80, the Pact of the future of the UN in general. You have the floor, and you will have the last word.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It's a challenge to speak the last after so many fantastic interventions. So my short response to you is, let's reflect how it all started, how it all happened. And then we will maybe just have some ideas on where to go now. And if we think about that, just allow me to think aloud and to share a vision and probably a dream. because as Gordon Brown mentioned, and this is what the idea he had, he mentioned the Atlantic Charter. This is how it all started. What is the Atlantic Charter? Well, the Atlantic Charter is a declaration. It's not a treaty, it's a declaration. It's a declaration at the darkest hour. So, United States is not in war. This is August 41. It's not yet Pearl Harbor. And the United States really is helping Great Britain, but helping it just a little bit, not helping much, and the opinion is very contrary to intervening or anything. So there are some resonances. And then we have Churchill that just goes across the Atlantic in an Atlantic that is full of submarines and that is full of dangers, that just gives up the imperial preferences. It's about tariffs, another reference, and just accepts the principle of self-determination in this. But what he sets up with Roosevelt is a vision for the world, a vision that, it has been said, we want peace. Peace is the main objective. Peace will be achieved mainly through prosperity. Shared prosperity is every man in every land just free of want and fear. All nations, great or small, victors and vanquished, having access to trade and natural resources, another reference. Well, then what they did is the two big powers, just they sit together and they imagine what was the world. So is it a dream to expect the two great powers today to make a declaration about the world of tomorrow? And you know, there are many issues that could be in this declaration. A few: cyber attacks to essential infrastructures, outer space, global public goods, certain principles to govern just artificial intelligence. I know that this is a dream, but again, if you ask me, I mean, I could go, because this is my specialty, I could go about legalese terms and international, but I think that what we have to ask, and the same way that the Atlantic Charter changed the morale, today, as Gordon Brown said, many others have said it, there is an expectancy of humanity about the future, about having a vision for the future. Mind you, in the Atlantic Charter, there is not a word about the big confrontation, direct word. There are many problems in 41. 41 is, as I say, the darkest hour for Great Britain and just the United States. But there is this ambition. I think that, okay, instead of arranging TikTok or having differences, we could expect that the two great leaders of the two great powers could think about some and many others that I haven't mentioned, from artificial intelligence to global public goods passing through the outer space.
Thank you, Ana Palacio. I said that you know, we have to really listen to you. And basically, you are the expert, but the message we received is that self-determination and sovereignty cannot be opposed to the urgent need for collaboration, for cooperation, and for addressing the challenges of today, starting by regulation of outer space, global public goods, artificial intelligence. There is a need of humanity coming together, but it doesn't counter the idea of defending national interest and sovereignty, because we are interdependent and interconnected. So thank you for that. I have to apologize, because I think because I'm a little hungry, I said then it's lunch, but it's not true. It was, I think, a very, you know, I was projecting in a way, but we have an excellent panel coming after this, and I would like to give the floor to the next moderator of the panel, Boris Tadic. You have the floor, Boris, and again, apologies, because we still have a panel, an excellent panel that we're all looking forward to.